Kick us off.
Okay, well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the June 22nd, 2026 CROG Transportation Committee meeting. Patrice Carson, your chairman for today. We are broadcasting this, just so everybody knows. And we will begin, I guess we will skip roll call. You're doing roll call virtually, and whoever's in the room there, Kara, correct?
Correct.
All right. Is there anybody either in the room or online who would like to speak under the public forum? I can't see everybody, so I'm going to rely on Kara to tell me that there's a hand up or something.
Do not see any hands up, Patrice.
All right. We will move on then with the adoption of our meeting minutes from our last meeting of May 18th. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
So moved, Devin Copperweight.
Thank you, Devin. Is there a second?
Second, Steve Soplak.
Thank you, Steve. All those in favor, actually, I should say, are there any amendments, changes, additions, corrections? Hearing none, seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? If you are abstaining, please state your name for the record.
Larry Burrell, Town of Avon, abstains.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We will move on. We have a long agenda and a presentation today, so we'll move on with staff reports. 60 seconds for safety, possible future subcommittee framework. Roger.
Thank you, Patrice. So CROG did establish a Vision Zero task force to provide oversight of the preparation of our safety action plan, and we will be seeking approval of that safety action plan later in agenda item 7 today. So as that completes its work, we want to keep a focus on our Vision Zero safety aspect, and with support from our executive director, we're offering just this overview of a framework, and we hope to discuss this at more in detail, but we wanted to give you at future meetings, but we wanted to give you a snapshot. So we suggest that in the future, we use our cost review subcommittee to have some meetings with a Vision Zero emphasis. And we're thinking maybe about 4 specific subcommittee meetings that are focused on Vision Zero transportation safety. And we're suggesting that other non-transportation committee members could be appointed with voting rights only at those designated safety meetings in the future, with representation from groups that from the areas of enforcement, education, and vulnerable users and CONDOT. And we consider changing the name of the current cost review subcommittee to something different, because we are addressing other topics going forward, and recently in the past, more than just cost review at some of those meetings that are, as you know, are held at typically 11 o'clock right before this 12 o'clock meeting. And then our transportation chair would continue to chair these meetings as well. So we hope to discuss this more at the July subcommittee meeting, and just wanted to give you a snapshot today.
Very good. Thank you, Roger. Are there any questions or any comments at this point? All right, we will move on to, thank you, Roger. We'll move on to a funding update. Elizabeth.
Yes, thank you all. There's still some good opportunities coming out of both the state government and federal for funding opportunities. SS4A was due earlier in the month, so hopefully those of you who took advantage will have hear back that your applications were complete and hopefully awarded. But keep us in the loop if you receive any questions or comments that you'd like assistance with if you did apply. We have featured in the newsletter this month is Connecticut DECD's Grayfield Revitalization Program. Not quite transportation related, but still exciting for a lot of the dual planners on the call. The bridge investment grants are due this week. I hadn't heard from anybody who's applying, but if you are and you would like a last minute letter of support, please feel free to reach out to us, as well as there's a Chrissy grant that the deadline was extended from today till later this week. So if anybody is applying for one of those federal transportation grants and would like, some last minute assistance or support, let us know. I'm going to drop a link to the newsletter in the chat momentarily, but just wanted to give a minute to show the full list until we go on to the next slide, which has some of the highlights, which with more information about, if you could go to the next slide with some of the featured opportunities, like the deadline for the Grayfield Revitalization Program. So still quite a bit of time to apply for that, as well as CROG's Brownfield Revolving Loan Fund. We are accepting applications on a rolling basis. So please, if you have a brownfield project. And then there's a FEMA BRIC grant, which BRIC can there's a building code official overlaps, not so much transportation, but like we found with Protect, there is overlap with transportation and climate resilience and what we can do to improve and make our infrastructure more resilient to extreme weather conditions, droughts, or maybe not droughts for for transportation, but flooding. Where we're getting more the change of the extreme precipitation. So we're also watching reauthorization of surface transportation funding. There's been a new bill released that's under review by the U.S. House of Representatives. And then we're also watching some proposed amendments to the federal uniform grant guidance. With those of you who are familiar with administering federal grants, you may be interested in some of those changes that are proposed. And hopefully there will be an extension of the review period. The current review period is the comments are accepted until July 13th, but we're hoping to get some more time to review those proposed edits. So those are also featured in the newsletter if you scroll all the way down. And so the next slide is just a reminder about the services we offer at CROG, as well as contact information. So thank you so much, and happy to answer questions here or offline.
Great. Thank you, Elizabeth. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Elizabeth while we're here? I know we all know how to reach you, Elizabeth. All right, we shall move on. CROG SS4A grant submission. Annika.
Hi, everyone. Building off of Elizabeth's funding update, we just wanted to let you all know what CROG submitted for this previous SS4A round. So we submitted an application titled Advancing Safety Roundabout Concepts and Quick Build Demonstrations. So it's a planning and demonstration application. We're hoping to build on the other CROG efforts. We identified all these potential roundabout locations in our screening study, and our safety action plan that you'll see more of today. Included regional priority project locations and top locations throughout the region. So this grant would hopefully be to advance some of that roundabout concept planning, and then maybe do some quick build demonstration projects at those high crash locations. So looking forward to hopefully getting that, and we'll see how it goes. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Annika? All right, we will continue with Annika, Transportation Resilience Improvement Plan Survey.
Yes, thanks, Patrice. So I've mentioned this new project before at past transportation committee meetings recently. And so we're really starting to get the work underway on this plan. This is through the Protect program. And so kind of similar to safety action plan, if you have locations that are identified on this transportation resilient improvement plan, they'll be eligible for future rounds of implementation funding. So this survey that is live now and is linked in the memo, attached to the, meeting items, and in the chat. Thank you. This allows any municipal staff person to go in and to add locations that are priorities for your town so that we can include them in this plan. So I would really appreciate it if everyone could take a look at this and provide some information. The state is working on a similar plan for state facilities, but local facilities are included, so that's where this comes in. So this is really focused on municipally owned roadways, municipally owned transportation facilities. So anything you have that's been vulnerable to flooding and climate, if you could go into the survey and tell us about it, that's gonna be the main avenue that we're gonna be collecting information from the towns. So, it's also open to the public. The first question the survey asks you if you're like a public or a staff member, so you get different questions. So the same link will work for everyone if you would like to share it with your communities as well. So yeah, please look out for more updates on this. Really excited to get it going. This is a collaboration with us and VCOG and the Northwest and Northeast COG. So it's kind of a big Northern Connecticut effort and we're really excited about it. Thanks everyone. Any questions?
Great, thank you. Any questions about this? Did this just come out or has it been out a little bit, Annika? Did you send something out before?
So I've mentioned that this was coming
Okay.
up at the previous transportation committee meeting, but it is pretty new, so. This survey is open until July 3rd. So. But yeah, we're in the beginning phases, but we're starting to make some progress.
Okay, great. I don't see any, I can't see everybody, but if there are no questions, we will move on to the Hartford line summary. Dagmar?
Thank you. Yeah, so you can find in your packet this Hartford Line Passenger Rail Overview document. This is a living document that offers a brief history of Hartford Line and related projects, both completed and ongoing. It includes ridership, funding, project status, program concepts, and will be updated periodically as we keep our finger on the pulse of passenger rail developments in our region. It's
Very
pretty
good.
short, it's under a dozen pages, so. You know, it's a pretty good, quick read if you just want to reference what's happening, status of any of the station projects, any double tracking coming down the quiet zone project, you can just get a quick update there.
Great, thank you. Any questions? All right, we have gotten to the other portion of our staff reports, and I know, Rob, I think you have a couple of items you wish to add or talk about: regional connectivity, congestion, and missing connections.
Yeah, thank you, Patrice. A while ago, and periodically, CROG updates our regional congestion management process report, which assesses congestion throughout the region. We're obligated to monitor this at all times, but we have a report that we put out every about 5 years. When looking at the data for that report, we get a lot of data from the feds that includes speed data on a lot of the major roadways in the region, but it's really more effective at looking at freeway congestion than identifying congestion on more local roads. So what I'd like to do over the next month or so, we'll be reaching out to you with a simple, really simple survey, just to have you guys, our transportation committee, assist us in locating locations in your communities that have congestion on more local roadways. So really, it's just making sure we don't miss anything. You know, obviously, there's certain congestion within the region that's obvious, that's not on freeways, and obviously we're aware of those, but there may be other locations we're not aware of. So we want to make sure this survey gets to all our towns and all our TC members for input, so we don't miss anything. And so it'll be a quick, very quick 2 or 3 question thing. If you could look for it coming through in the next month, I appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, any questions for Rob on that item? All right, Rob, I think you also wanted to discuss CROG legislative agenda development?
Yeah, we're starting early, in trying to, come up with a plan for our legislative efforts for the next 2027 session. It's a long session. And, as you all may know, every year, we get ready with a CROG Legislative Committee. And they meet periodically and come up with recommendations for the COG. We're beginning that process now. We're gonna outreach with a survey to all our first elected officials. But I wanted to give Transportation Committee members a chance to weigh in if you have any issues that we want to include in that survey to the first elected officials, or for consideration by the legislative committee. We'd like to hear them sooner rather than later. So I know on the transportation front, many of these every year involve safety. Last year, there was legislation regarding e-bikes that was a bit, I've heard from the various police departments, a little bit confusing, and they could have tweaked it a little better. There's other issues besides safety that you guys might be interested in regarding utilities and other items that are tangentially related to transportation. So whatever you guys think is important for our legislative committee to consider, if you could bring those up now, or feel free to put them in writing and email either me or Roger Cron regarding what issues are impacting you and might be addressed through legislation. I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks, Rob. I noticed a couple things got up on the chat there. Does anybody else have anything to add to the survey?
Prevailing wage.
Thank you, Peter.
Thanks.
I'm sure we can't come up with everything here, but again, you just want us to email you or Roger with anything else we may come up with for the survey, right?
That'll be great, and we'll take note of what's in the chat too.
Okay, great. I can see that Matt is in the room there. So Matt, would you like to give us an executive director's update?
I'd be happy to, Patrice. Just a couple of things, and thank you for sharing today's meeting. Really appreciate it.
No worries.
So folks have probably heard by now that we will be receiving state funding of $800,000 to conduct a study about the feasibility, to assess the feasibility of extending CT Fast Track to the eastern portion of our region in a more robust fashion. So we are hearing from the state now about how the grant process is going to work. We're excited about that project and appreciate the support we've received from the Connecticut DOT Commissioner and others. Another item I wanted to touch on, we have 3 very important studies on today's agenda. Want to thank all of our staff and the consulting teams who were involved in preparing these studies. A lot of great work behind these. I was very pleased to participate in particular on the preparation of the safety action plan. And that's going to be something that we will have a focus on in the future, as Roger described earlier in this meeting. So just really would appreciate everybody's due consideration of those 3 studies today. We'll be bringing them to our policy board on Wednesday. And then last but not least, very pleased to welcome our guests from the DOT here with us today. Thank you for attending, and we're looking forward to your presentation. Happy to take any questions, Patrice.
Thank you, Matt, and thanks for the update. Are there any questions for Matt or comments? Everybody's excited to get to the presentation, Matt. All right, Rob, can you give us a walkthrough of the tip amendments on the agenda today, please?
Sure. We have 8 tip amendments in front of you today. 5 are new projects. 1 is a low bid that came in lower, so it's just an adjustment of the amount. And then 2 are projects that are actually being removed from the tip, either being funded solely with state funding, which means it doesn't have to be on the tip anymore. or being moved into another project, which are the last two items. So I won't touch on 7 and 8 as those are being removed, but 1 through 6, 1 and 3 are trail projects that CROG has done studies on. And is excited to get these into the tip and as real projects that are gonna be implemented. So those are on the East Coast Greenway. And we're very excited that those are moving forward, both in Simsbury, Bloomfield, and Hartford. 2 and 4 are freeway type projects. Number 2 is a very large project. If you see the cost, $116 million. And we have checked with DOT because that number really stood out to us. And really, it's Route 9 in both directions through the center of New Britain. It's 2.5 miles around. It's not just pavement rehab. That's a little bit of a misnomer. It's full reconstruction, getting rid of the concrete pavement that's under the surface, rebuilding the whole freeway, drainage, noise walls. So it's a full reconstruction of Route 9 through the center of New Britain. So that's a very large project. And then number 4 is a large bridge over in West Hartford on I-84 westbound. It travels over Trupp Brook and Trupp Brook Drive, and also is stacked above a highway ramp going to the local road in West Hartford. So it's a large bridge on I-84 westbound. That's some bridge improvements there. And then number 6 is also a new project that's replacing traffic control signals at various locations. Really, there are 12 locations, only 3 of them are within CROG. 1 in Canton on Route 44, 1 in Simsbury on 167, and 1 on Suffield on Route 75. Those locations are in the backup materials for this. And then the only other one I'll touch on is number 5, which is mill and pave various bridges. That one, there are 16 out of 17 bridges are in CROG, mainly on Route 3 and I-91. 9 are in Weathersfield, 5 Glastonbury, 1 Rocky Hill, 1 Berlin. Those are available in the backup. Also, all the funding sources are appropriate for the types of projects that are being proposed, so we would recommend approval of the TIP amendments.
Very good, Rob. Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to recommend approval of, or approve the TIP amendments as presented?
So moved.
So moved.
Steve Soplak.
Thank you, Steve. Is there a second?
Second, Doug Wilson.
Thank you, Doug. Any comments, questions? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anybody
Aye.
opposed? Anybody abstain? All right, looks like the ayes have it. Thank you, Rob.
I'll just add one thing.
Yes, absolutely.
And just an interesting thing, everybody's, as you all well know, on some of the freeways, there's a long-range plan to change all the exit numbers to be mileage-based. And number 7 does change exit numbers in our region to be mileage-based on I-84. That project is being moved to 2027, so you will be seeing after 2027 sometime, all the 84 being changed, the exit numbers being changed to mileage-based. Thank you.
Okay. So everybody will be getting lost then.
Yes.
Hopefully they change the GPS to match it. So there you go. All right, we will move on to lots of cost increase scope modification requests. So Toria and Stephanie.
Hey, thank you, Patrice, and good afternoon, everybody. This is for a funding increase request for Suffield Windsor Locks Canal reconstruction. This is a real project located in the towns of Windsor Locks and also Suffield. This project was originally awarded through the 2023 lots of solicitation. and it's 23,232 linear feet, so it's quite substantial. The project has advanced to the application phase. Different requirements were identified in the review process, and they were identified by Deep and also consultant to ensure long-term sustainability, environmental protection, and also structural integrity. So the town of Suffield is requesting lots of funding increase of 780,000. It's a 65% increase, and it's from the 1.2 million to 1.98 million. And 1.2, I just want to mention, was the maximum amount during the 2023 solicitation, and we have since upped that amount to 1.5 million. So I'm going to turn it over to Steph.
Thanks, Victoria. During the review process, the CTDEP, who oversees maintenance of the trail, has requested that the originally proposed asphalt trail be replaced with more permeable material, such as stone dust. So because of this shift to stone dust, additional topsoil and seeding is needed along the edges of the trail, adding $140,000 of costs to reduce environmental impacts and improve drainage. Additionally, this multi-use trail features steep slopes and waterways on both sides. As such, it was recommended by both the DEP and the consultant to add comprehensive erosion control along both sides of the trail for the entire length of the project. This addition totals $315,000 to help with erosion and to protect environmental resources. Lastly, the consultant review recommended an additional evaluation of the structural stability of the pedestrian bridges along the trail. This structural evaluation was conducted by a licensed engineer who recommended $122,000 in bridge upgrades and another $30,000 for temporary reinforcement during construction. These additional costs, combined with increases in prices and percentage-based items, resulted in a total increase of $780,000. To incorporate additions identified by CTDEP and consultant reviews during the application review process, staff recommends approval of an additional $780,000 of lots of funding for the Suffield Windsor Locks Canal Trail, increasing funding from $1.2 million to $1.98 million.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody from Suffield or Windsor Locks on the call that would like to make any comments?
Yep. Hi, Patrice. Thank you. Bill Hawkins here, Director
Bill.
of Planning and Development. I won't repeat what was just said. Victoria and Stephanie did a great job. I really appreciate that. But I'll just add that anybody that's walked this site knows that it's not a simple site. It's a narrow corridor squeezed between steep embankments. There's water on both sides, really constrains just about everything you can do and build there. With this change in scope as recommended by our consultant engineer in the state, the importance of getting this right can't be overstated. So on behalf of Suffield and our friends in Windsor Locks, we ask for the committee's support in approving the funding increase for the reasons just discussed. And if there are specific questions, engineering-wise, we do have our consultant town engineer available on the call to help address those. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Anybody else have any questions? Or I'm sorry, first let's hear if there's anybody else from either Suffield or Windsor Locks who wants to speak on this, and then I'll take some questions if there are any. All right, any questions?
This is Owen Deutsch, City of Hartford, Director of Planning.
Yes.
I'm just curious about to hear more about the request from DEP for it to be converted to stone dust rather than asphalt. We have our own trail project where there was a lot of consideration given to that, and we ultimately decided to go with asphalt for a number of reasons. But Just curious for more background on that, please.
Thank you.
Yeah, Dana Steele, can you jump in? I know you were directly involved with some of those conversations.
Yeah, I had some similar questions about that. We originally proposed asphalt, which is a more uh, sturdy surface. Um, uh, the reason that Deep likes the stone dust is it's easier to maintain. So if there's a pothole or something, they can get in there, particularly a site like this where the access is very limited. You'll only get in from either end. You have to cross pedestrian bridges that have a load limit of 3 tons. So you got to go in with small loads and at a time. And so the stone dust was their preference from a maintenance standpoint. And they've had success with it on other trails. I've talked with other users of the trail to kind of get some feedback on what people thought. And most of the feedback I've gotten was positive. People say, "Oh yeah, that'll be nice to have a stone dust. It'll be good for." People liked it too because it kept the rollerbladers off of the trail. So sometimes those different uses don't always um, uh, mix well, and so I guess I Deep didn't mention that, but that was one anecdotal comment I heard from someone as I was inquiring about this because I had some of the same questions. Like, boy, it seems like asphalt is more of a sturdy, durable surface, but from a maintenance standpoint, Deep really likes the stone dust.
Any other questions? I actually had the similar question, Dana. We just recently did a connectivity piece in Bolton where it's along the roadway, so it's more, would be like a sidewalk, but it's done in stone dust, and we've had a lot of problems keeping it maintained. So it seems like it needs a lot of maintenance. You get a heavy rain or something, you get a lot of rills in it, and you got to go out there and rake it. And so it's interesting
Yeah, that is,
concept.
I guess the other end of that spectrum is it's easier to maintain, but might need more frequent maintenance.
Right.
In this case, the town of Windsor Locks, the town of Suffield's not doing the maintenance. DEP's doing the maintenance, and this is the way they prefer to maintain it. So,
Right.
I think the uniqueness of this site having very limited access maybe tips the scales more in favor of this approach.
Right. Any other questions or comments? If not, can I have a motion to approve the cost increase in scope of modification?
Move to approve, Doug Wilson.
Thank you, Doug. Do I have a second?
Larry Burrell, second.
Thank you, Larry. Any other questions, concerns, comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Thank you
Thank
guys
you.
for being here and presenting.
Thank you.
We have 4 resolutions on the agenda next to look at. The first would be with Roger, the adoption of the CROG Transportation Safety Action Plan, which he alluded to earlier.
Thank you, Patrice. So CROG did receive a grant from US DOT under the Safe Streets and Roads for All program to develop a comprehensive safety action plan. And the policy board did adopt a Vision Zero goal in 2024 to reach zero fatal and serious crashes by 2040. The safety action plan has been prepared with our CROG staff and consultant working to complete the plan. It is posted on our CROG website, the complete plan and all the supporting documents. Our CROG Vision Zero Task Force did approve the plan at their June 11th, 2026 meeting. And as this group knows, over the past years, we have met with our towns. We presented all the 5 years of crash data analysis. We have developed priority projects for each town and also strategies for crash reduction throughout our region. So we are recommending that this transportation committee adopt forward this on to the policy board for adoption at their meeting this Wednesday at the policy board.
Thank you, Roger. Do I have a motion to do that? To forward this on to the policy board?
So moved, Devin Copperwaite.
Thank you, Devin. Is there a second?
Second, Mark Moriarty, New Britain.
Thank Mark. Any questions, comments? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the ayes have it. We will move on to the next resolution, which is an endorsement of the Priority Pathways Study. Mike?
All right, thank you, Patrice. So our priority pathway plan, we are looking to build out a network of off-road separated and/or protected pathways throughout the region in all 38 of our towns. So last month at the May Transportation Committee meeting, we presented the draft final report to the committee for their review. Since then, we've closed our 30-day public comment period on June 14th, so a little bit over a week ago. Staff is currently finalizing comments that we received. Those should be, the report itself should be finalized either today or tomorrow. The comments that we received were minor in nature. They didn't significantly affect the report itself or alter any of the content in the report. So staff is requesting that the Transportation Committee does endorse the final report and then advance it to policy board on Wednesday as well for the final approval.
Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to send this to the policy board with our endorsement?
Move to send to the policy board, Doug Wilson.
Thank you, Doug. Is there a second?
Second, Moriarty, New Britain.
Thank you, Mike. All, any comments, concerns? All those in favor say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? All right. That is passed as well. The next resolution is regarding the endorsement of the warehousing land use and traffic study. Kyle?
Hi, Patrice. Thank you. Hi, folks. Good afternoon. So this study, you guys have seen it twice. We saw the part one interim findings presented to TC in October, and then recently last month at the subcommittee meeting, we reviewed essentially quote unquote part two of the study. So you've seen it twice. The public comment period has ended today. We hadn't received any comments as far as I know. I'm finalizing that with Jacob today, but last time I checked Friday, we didn't have any comments. And the Project Advisory Committee endorsed the findings a few weeks ago. So we're just asking for you folks to endorse it so we can send it to the policy board on Wednesday. Happy to take any questions.
Great, Kyle. Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to send this to the policy board with our endorsement? Come on, Doug.
So moved, Steve Soplak.
Thank you, Steve. Second?
Second, Chris Ovidio, Newington.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions for Kyle or comments? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Our last resolution is our favorite one of the year, authorizing the Transportation Committee to act as the policy board. This typically takes place in August. Is that correct, Kara?
So it is in July, actually, and I.
Oh, in
was
July. Okay.
Yeah, so I was thinking to myself this morning, too bad that John's under the weather, because this is really his favorite every year. But before you, it's the resolution, in allowing us to, so it looks like the resolution did not make it onto the slides, but that's okay.
Sorry.
It's okay, no, it's in the packet though.
So it is a, annually, TC continues to meet in July. We generally do not have an August meeting, though we can if, there's any time sensitive items. Policy board has a break after this month until September. So what this resolution does is it allows TC to act as the policy board during that break. With the understanding that policy board members are invited to those meetings, are aware of the happenings at them. And then this, resolution would go to policy board on Wednesday as well for their blessing.
Okay, so I will take a motion to authorize the Transportation Committee to act as the policy board as stated.
So
So
moved.
moved, Devin
Video.
Conway.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear who moved that.
You hear that we had Devin and Chris.
Okay,
Chris, I'll do the second if you want to do the first.
there you
Sounds
go.
like a plan.
All right, any
All right.
comments? Power to the Transportation Committee. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Hi.
I know there's no abstentions, so we will move on. That is
you.
passed. Did you want to do this? Was there another one or not? That was just a,
No,
the slide was an error.
Yeah, no, it was just, it looked like the priority pathways was up twice, but the, correct one was in the packet, so everyone had access to it. So
Okay.
we're good.
Okay, great. So next on our agenda, we have a presentation from Connecticut DOT Traffic Operations, and I will invite 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 DOT people for, maybe they can introduce themselves for us, and I will hand it over. I'm gonna just pick the person on first on my list here, which is Greg Palmer. I don't know if he's
Sure,
the
yes,
right one.
Yeah, that's the correct one, thank you. I'll be giving the presentation. I brought backup of as far as some faces that cover the area. So I'm Greg Palmer, traffic operations, the DOT. I'm the principal engineer that covers the traffic operations unit in general for the state. With me today is Claudel Moronis, Vincent Wong, Obi Ayadu, and Christy Cabilo, that are the different senior engineers that cover different towns, and you'll see more on which towns they cover later on. So why we're here is, traffic engineering went through a reorganization around 2019. We created our traffic signals unit. We kind of redid our traffic operations unit. Excuse me. And what we used to have is a lot of names and faces that knew who to contact when they had issues or discussion points, or like, we'd like to talk to someone about this signal here or this intersection that has a lot of crashes. And we're the non-project unit, traffic engineering, so that role would come to us when a state highway is impacted. But in 2019, with our reorg, we came out with these well-intentioned mailboxes, like, oh, if you have an inquiry, send it to this mailbox. And it kind of has resulted in this impersonal kind of connection between the towns and our unit in particular. So we saw this as an opportunity to kind of come out here, get our names and faces out there. Our contact information will be in the slide deck that could be distributed to everybody. And we just kind of wanted to re-talk about what we do and how we can assist towns in the COP and everything. So if you want to go to the next slide. So traffic engineering, this is just a brief overview of what traffic has for 4 units. We have our traffic project design unit. So think of the capital plan, think of the big highway design projects, bridge design projects, facility projects. This is the unit that supports all of those projects for the traffic elements of it. They also have their own projects for the sign support projects along 84, 91, and I mentioned one of those earlier for 84. So that's the unit that delivers those projects as well. Traffic signals unit, that's the unit that was created in 2019. They also deliver the capital plan with signal upgrade and installation projects. They also have an asset management component to state of good repair, figuring out where the signals are with inspections and such. They have our traffic signal lab. And that is kind of like with the signals unit and our traffic electrical. Can't forget them. They are involved in everything for us for signals. Then the traffic safety unit, they are, the keepers of our strategic highway safety plan. They also have, the highway safety improvement plan projects that are like the, forget like $20 million a year that we have of federal money for safety projects through that group. The way I like to explain it, they're the proactive group. They're trying to use proven safety countermeasures to implement statewide through projects. Whereas traffic operations, we're a non-project group. We are the reactive group. We're the ones that hears the complaints that are not project related and looks into them on state highways, usually at a specific intersection, a few intersections, or segments in between. We don't tend to get into huge, large corridors because then we start talking about maybe you could consider a corridor study for your COG and such. So that's just a brief overview of the 4 different units. So next slide, you'll circle us, and then one more slide after, please. So just, this is, I'm not gonna rattle off everything here. This is more for the towns that to kind of come in and be like, hey, we'd like to talk to somebody. What does that unit do again? You can go here and look at it. So, you know, I think the sole purpose of our unit historically has been to do studies for transportation related issues on the state highway system for local traffic authorities. So the first 12 years of my career, I spent covering the District 1 area, a lot of CROG. And I would be on the phone with the local traffic authority or a designee for them almost every day, if not, you know, multiple times a day with different towns. So we always had this kind of relationship that you just build over time. But you know, then it's not always like, hey, we want you to study something. It could be a phone call saying, we'd like to just talk about an issue we're having and just see, should you guys look at that? Should it go somewhere else? Do you think it's an issue? So I just kind of want to point out that we're here to serve the towns for transportation issues on the state highway, as long as it's not project related. So some of these items really could be, you know, this intersection doesn't currently have a signal. We think it should have one. That's just like probably one of the more common ones we get. And you know, so this slide is more about just our overall responsibilities. It's not all that we do. We also support OSTA and technical review of major traffic generators. That's the, you know, the big Amazon warehouses or the new Walmart developments or whatever's going on. We review the traffic generation impact side of it after a consultant submits it. Then we also do the municipally owned traffic signals on state highway system, whereas OSTA does municipal signals on municipal highways. And we also support maintenance, encroachment permit reviews, and the maintenance resurfacing program in summer. Go to the next slide. So here's our coverage area for the state. So that mailbox I mentioned earlier is right up at the top left, and people probably look at it and cringe, like our request went into the ether. We have no clue what's going on. You know, we do have a system. It's, you know, we get a lot of requests. Sometimes it is difficult. Things do fall between the cracks, but you know, we are supposed to be acknowledging within a few days. We're supposed to give an anticipated timeline, and as part of that acknowledgement, we're supposed to give someone an engineer, a working level engineer to contact if you want to follow up. You know, we know that we're not always the quickest to respond and finish the study. So, you know, I don't think it's get lost at points, but this is just a general overview of the state and how we're broken down by senior engineers, the area representatives here. And if you go to the next slide, I think it zooms in on the CROG area. So you can see CROG is covered by 3 different district maintenances, districts 1, 2, and 4. And so on this, it's a color coded area. So you can see for District 1, on the northern portion shown in red, we have Vincent right here. We have Christie on the southern portion of District 1. She also has a couple towns in District 4, Farmington and Avon. Christie's here. And then in the rest of District 4, we have Obie, shown in orange on the map there. And then for the District 2 towns, we have Claudel, and that's shown in pink on the map. So CROG is, you know, we have 4 different senior engineers that kind of cover different towns. And one more slide, please. You know, took up a lot of space here. So we have one more slide that shows the same information, and this has all the contact information on it. I feel like this is going to be the save this page somewhere on your desktop or something, maybe. But you know, we have the email addresses, phone numbers for everybody, and kind of like you can see again the color coding. And we also added the supervising engineers here. Now they're not here with us today, mostly because it's not quite as clear for them. They don't only just cover a certain area. They have statewide responsibilities that are subject matter type elements also. So they could be throughout the entire state doing reviews. Whereas the TE3s are strictly coverage areas of certain towns. So, you know, if you ever do need to talk to someone or you need to check on the status of a previous assignment, if you don't already have a contact, feel free to call people based on this page right here. Start with the color coded senior engineer and work your way to me if you want, or, you know, if for some reason someone's out, feel free to call me too and leave a voicemail or whatever works, you know, we want to be responsive to the towns and to whoever needs our assistance, you know. So anyways, this is kind of the whole, this is like the presentation on one slide. What we're trying to do is get names and faces out there so we can build those relationships again. Next slide, please. What I was talking about earlier is, you know, these are the kinds of requests that we normally get from local traffic authorities. So regarding intersections, you know, they want a signal at a location. They want, maybe there's an existing signal there. They want timing changes. Oh, this side gets backed up, or they want a phasing change. It doesn't have an advanced green arrow, but we really think it should. So again, if it's not already in a project, we're the group that would study that. I will say that we are somewhat limited in what work we can accomplish. So because we don't have a construction project to throw it into, we either rely on maintenance to do the work that we're trying to pursue. And maintenance isn't able to do a lot of underground work. So when it gets signal related or sidewalk ramp related, we may say, hey, we would need to program this into a project, which we can recommend. But at the end of the day, there's a project group that might be balancing other priorities. And if it does get into a project, it's gonna take 5 to 7 years. No one feels more silly sending a response when someone's asking for a PROAG and ADA compliant sidewalk ramp crossing. And we're like, oh yeah, we agree a crosswalk makes sense, but we can get ramps there in about 5 years. Like, no one wants to send that email, but we do at times. So we try to partner with towns to see if they can do the construction of the ramps. We try to find other avenues to collaborate on getting that done. So I just wanted to kind of also quickly talk about the challenges that we have in our units, since we don't have active construction abilities. But we also do signs and markings, and if a town is aware of a high crash location issue, we would investigate that further and try to find solutions. There's a bunch of other various reviews, like illumination studies along the corridor, and, you know, other types of crosswalks and such that aren't at intersections. But if it's a state highway and not part of a project, we're a good group to talk to. And then I also want to just kind of mention, there are things that are transportation related, but really the Office of the State Traffic Administration is the overseer of certain things, and that's the no trucks requests. That's municipal signals on municipal highways and all posted speed limits for state highways, town roadways. Unless the town's taken over the responsibility for the entire town, then OSTA would be the group to talk to. And passing times, I forgot those. Next slide, please. Just a quick thing here, you know, any review we get, any study we do or review, we're gonna be checking to make sure it's compliant with the MUTCD, the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. This is, I like to call it the Traffic Engineer's Bible. You know, this is what we're always gonna refer to. So sometimes if we say no to something, it's not always like, you know, we're most likely saying no because of this. If it's compliant with this, we usually are somewhat, you know, okay with it. I'm sure there are some exceptions to that too, but that's kind of what our quick check is. So next slide, please. This is another slide just on, you know, what a major traffic generator is. Again, OSTA is actually the keeper of this process. Also, we are a support unit to them for technical traffic reviews. We also do the for maintenance, we do support for encroachment permit reviews, again, technical side of it. If there's a signal related, is there a you know, pavement marking change that district maintenance is not comfortable reviewing on their own, they'll get us involved. It's really up to them. But usually when it's signal related, we'll be involved. We also support them for their actually, that's the next slide, sorry, one more slide, maintenance resurfacing projects. So every summer, I'm sure you guys have been stuck in traffic at some point in an evening, or if you're driving later, it's paving season. And so we're the group that reviews all of the maintenance resurfacing program, not the pavement preservation program. Those come out of highway design, those projects. But we review each of these segments and look for opportunities for road diets, for passenger shoulders, maybe buffered shoulders if they are super wide. So we're the group that reviews the section, looks for opportunities to implement new changes, usually for improving, space for vulnerable roadway users. Next, and actually I forgot, well, I'm not gonna go backwards, but one of the other responsibilities our unit has is we also support policy and planning. I know their bureau has a different name now, PTI. I don't know what it stands for exactly. It's not policy and planning. They're like planning, technology and information, something like that. Innovation, thank you. Yeah, it was close. But we do support them also, in which case, like, support to them that we have is technical review of corridor studies, technical reviews of other grant programs. So we do letters of support reviews for the Safe Streets for All that were mentioned earlier. The build grants, I don't know if that's a new name now, or build, raise, there's a whole bunch of it where we do the technical reviews on the traffic side of that. I'm associated with all of those, so we do in RSA. So again, we're a support unit most of the time when we're not the primary unit for responding to towns on their requests. And at the end here, I just had 2 or 3 quick plugs of things that you've likely seen that we're looking for opportunities under those maintenance resurfacing programs. We are trying to find sections that qualify for road diets and coordinate with municipalities to pursue them. Not that long ago, we would try to pursue these things, and I'll admit our coordination with the towns hasn't been great in the past, but we are trying to improve that now. There's not much recourse when you implement something and someone complains about it afterward. If you didn't have a public process, it's kind of tough to say that afterwards. So now we are going through somewhat of a public process. It's not quite a public info meeting because these aren't official state projects, but we are having a meeting with municipality and is open to the public to kind of present this after hours. We've had 2 so far this year. And so any future proposed road diets through the maintenance resurfacing program would go through that kind of effort. The last one we did in the Krog area was on New Britain Avenue, the West Hartford line, and we didn't quite follow that process. And we got a little bit of pushback from the local business community, but I think it did kind of work out in the long run, but we just were kind of behind the 8 ball, and yeah, won't make any more excuses, but we're trying to improve upon that. Next slide, please. And another thing, and there are resurfacing programs that if you haven't seen them already, they look like buffered bike lanes, but we're not quite doing bike lanes yet because, when you implement a bike lane, you actually have to eliminate all parking within the area. And, based on my reading of what a bike lane is, I believe pedestrians can't use those areas. So, we are doing buffered shoulders is what we're calling it. So we're trying to maintain an 11-foot through lane and utilize this buffer to then provide a 4-foot minimum, but we're really trying to give 5 feet minimum for the potential for a future bike lane if a municipality should want to pursue that afterward. But where we're just trying to create a space that is for vulnerable roadway users. Anyways, yeah, as lanes get higher or a little wider, people tend to drive faster. So we're trying to keep this into the 11-foot while also providing the space for bicyclists and such. So we've started this last summer, mostly in the District 2 area, probably from what I recall, but we are trying to implement more and more as we find locations that fit our criteria. The same for road diets in the last one. I know I talked about, the public portion of it, but really there is a safety of road diets. There are proven safety countermeasures through FHWA. And if the volumes and kind of line up, then we're going to do our due diligence in putting together a concept to try to move that forward. One more slide. And then the last plug I have is from DOT's Quick Build Directive. It was a directive signed, I think it was summer of 2024, about 2 years ago then, signed by our commissioner and our bureau chief of maintenance at that time. We haven't had a ton of applications. So I kind of just wanted to do a plug for this. And what this process is before you maybe bite off a streetscape project and pay for a bunch of curbing and everything to get redone along a downtown area or somewhere else, a quick build might be a good alternative to test it out throughout the summer months. Much cheaper You can try to see how well it would work out. This location in particular in Bridgeport, is paint and flexible post delineators. And we used it to, kind of, people were parking up and down this area all the way up to intersections. And, it doesn't really matter what sign you put up sometimes until you physically take away the space, it's gonna get used. And parking close to crosswalks and intersections impacts visibility between pedestrians and motorists. And this one is signalized, but some of the other locations along this corridor have, crosswalks that are not signalized, that are at intersections with RRFBs. So, anyways, this is a bump out essentially to kind of keep the parking away and improve that visibility. And it's a temporary item for only in, I think, May 1st to end of October, because you can't plow with this, so you take it out before the end of October. But then if it's successful, maybe it is setting up for a future streetscape where you could do the curbing and the drainage and, the more decorative materials, having wider space for pedestrians. Anyways, there's a lot of different options, and if people aren't aware of the quick build directive, I just wanted to kind of do a quick plug for it. And I think the link on that page is the one that's on the CROG web page, because some of DOT's directives are not easy for the public to find, I've noticed. So that was actually the easiest one I could find, so thank you for having that on your page. But I just wanted to do a plug, if people haven't been aware of it, or it's a good opportunity to get the info out there. I think that's it. I just wanted to do some plugs on different kinds of reviews and things we're looking to push further. So hopefully it was beneficial, and I'll take questions if people have questions, but again, our contact info is there. We have some faces and names now for contact points, and we're here to help you guys, so let us know how we can.
Great. Thank you very much, Greg. I do have one question. I'll start it off if anybody else has any as well. But for a road project, and do you guys reach out to the town, or does the town reach out to you, or does it sort of go both ways when there's a project and maybe we see the need for a road diet? I don't know. Are you looking at that ahead of time, or how does that work?
What kind of project are you referring to?
So
Is it like this?
We have a specific project on Route 6 that I know they're doing I think it's reconstruction, I'm not sure, but I didn't know. We've reached out to DOT to take a look at that because we've been asked by one of the bike clubs about, whether they could look at it for bike lanes or whether they could look at it for narrowing the lane width. So I just didn't know if something we reach out or you reach out or whoever reaches out first.
Yeah, so if I am recalling correctly, that's a part of the MRP, the Maintenance Resurfacing Program. In which case, that is our group that reviews it on behalf of maintenance. So maintenance does a lot of the effort of, informing the municipalities when something is scheduled. I'll be honest, I don't know how early they send that. Hopefully there's like some sort of pre-construction meeting, but I'm not positive. But we've been working on the MRP since November-ish or so, because we developed a lot of plans throughout the state. And from what I recall, that's like Bolton, mostly the Route 6 repaving, and we were proposing buffered shoulders through most of that corridor wherever it could fit. I call it buffered shoulders because again, we're not doing the bike lane component of it at this time. But I actually just got an email this morning from our planning group asking about what we had reviewed for that segment. So that was earlier this morning. I haven't gotten the rest of the info to confirm it was the same location, but talking to us probably would be the best in that situation if it's under the Maintenance Resurfacing Program.
Okay, great, thank you.
Hopefully that's somewhat helpful. You want me to follow up afterwards? We can. I think Vincent here covers that town.
Yeah, that would be great. I'm in the Bolton section, but I think it's going into Coventry and down Route 6, and maybe going into several towns. But on our end, we've been asked, and we just want to be able to at least give an answer that, A, it was looked at, and B, this is what was decided, because it is, the state road. So, yeah, if you could, Vincent, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's a high-speed corridor with pretty wide overall segments. So I'm pretty sure we had buffered shoulders throughout a lot of that area under the resurfacing, but we'll confirm and get back to you on that.
Great, appreciate it. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions or comments they'd like to make?
Yeah, Greg, Steve Soplak, Rocky Hill. I just had to step out for a minute. I might have missed it. Are you gonna have a link to that, the presentation?
Yeah, I mean, are you can give us
Yes,
the
we'll
number?
post the slides for the meeting on the meeting page of the CROG website.
All right, thanks, because it wasn't attached to the agenda, so I'd like to get those numbers.
Absolutely.
That's good.
Thank you.
I would. Well, you mentioned RSAs. As an organization, we usually do about 4 walkouts throughout the region per year.
Yep.
Currently, we usually have a representative from the DOT Active Transportation Unit come on. Would it be appropriate to invite someone from your group to?
For the RSAs?
Yeah, to attend with us?
As long as they're on state highways, then yeah, definitely, yeah, and then we have been active in those in the past, I think. The RSA program went through like a year where it was kind of, they were trying to refigure out the program, is my understanding, but yeah, so that would be appropriate, we normally would have the TD3 and the working level engineer for the field audits, and then I think when there's an eventual later, like there's like a virtual meeting or something also, then supervised engineer may also participate in that covers, then our supervised engineer's last bit, and he covers all planning studies from the traffic perspective from the state. Yeah.
I got one. Hi, Greg. Thank you for the presentations, making my brain spin.
Sorry. I talk fast too.
You mentioned in your presentation that sometimes you work with municipalities to perform the construction of some of the smaller projects because you guys don't have the ability to oversee that. When that happens, would the funding for that come from the DOT, or would that be expected town kick up the funding for those projects?
So, let's say a town were to request a crosswalk at a location where it doesn't exist. So there's no ramp there already. So if we review it, determine the site distances are good, yeah, crosswalk makes sense here. We think it also should be there. We can't issue a service memo to our maintenance and have, because they're not gonna install sidewalk ramps, they don't have the ability to do that, is what I've been told. So how we have 2 ways to kind of respond, and our preference, how we used to do this, we kick it back to the town, be like, oh yeah, we're okay with the crosswalk, the town can construct the ramps. And move forward, and that would be at the town's expense, like the state doesn't have funding, but I mean, there are a lot of grant opportunities, and I see a whole bunch of them from municipalities where they're doing sidewalk linkage projects and doing new crosswalks in our area. So there are grant opportunities maybe to help offset that. I'll admit, I'm not well versed on different kinds of grants and what could qualify for lot SIP and everything else. Or community connectivity, I think that's another one. But the other side of that is let's say that we do want to implement that crosswalk. What's weird about that is, like, you know, the projects that traffic does normally are like signal related. Like, I don't know of any projects we have that we would just say, oh yeah, we're gonna have a project to install ramps and crosswalks. That probably wouldn't be a standalone project, you know, with multiple locations. It more likely would be like if, you know, they needed an RFP and a town was in a weird situation, and it would kind of be not the typical, honestly, but you know, that can get programmed into a signal project per se, in which case 7 years minimum, 5 years at best. And that's just a finished design. So that's kind of where we are. If we can't get maintenance to do it, then we're either gonna be in this weird spot where we convey a message back to the town saying that we agree with it, but that we don't have a mechanism for it. Yeah.
I think it becomes an issue, at least for me in the couple of towns I've worked in, I'm sure maybe Peter would chime in on this too. You know, towns are coming up with less and less funding internally, you know, from you know, our residents lately.
Okay.
You know, so we come up with these projects or these ideas, we see a gap on a state road that, you know, hey, there's this thing that would be really beneficial to, you know, all the motorists. We propose it to the DOT, and DOT says, that's a great idea, you guys should do that, right? Not only should you do it, you should maintain it in perpetuity. And that puts, you know, not only the onus of the town to construct the project, but to fund it and to fund the maintenance for forever. I think like don't block the box, we have an intersection that's on a state road that is a traffic nightmare. And one of the suggestions was to put in don't block the box painting, when DOT's response was, yeah, you can do that. but you guys own it forever. So a lot of towns would, maybe we're hesitant to propose some safety upgrades because we don't wanna own the maintenance of it forever. But we do wanna get it done, but then, might be towns that are hesitant to actually point something out because they don't wanna have it be their idea, and then, the PAL says now the town owns it.
Yeah, and I get it. It's a difficult situation in general, we make recommendations, and I guess you could say signs and markings are pretty cheap overall. That, like, if you're okay with it, then why wouldn't the state take it on? And I think for us, it's a matter of precedent. There was a traffic investigation report specifically on the don't block the box thing that kind of laid out the process. So until something, I don't know the statute that goes along with it in general, but until something were to change structurally, we're always gonna push that on. And RFPs are owned and maintained by municipalities too, which I'm not familiar with what the maintenance of those is per se, but I know
Pick
the
them up
state,
when people run them over.
I see a lot of those when I drive around, I bet, unfortunately. I do know the state, like where there are existing crosswalks, our safety unit does have projects for installation of RFP, so at least you can get that part done by the state, but where there are existing crosswalks, I think is the caveat with that.
It always comes with the municipalities doing the maintenance.
Yeah, and in a similar note, we do that now in traffic signals too, I spent 12 years in operations for District 1, and then at the reorg, I spent my 5 years then in the signals unit doing the signal upgrade projects for the state. And before that, I was also doing those projects in District 1. And some of the run-ins I've had with towns then was like, oh, the signal's here. It's getting scheduled for an upgrade, but we're looking at it like, wow, this is a pretty quiet signal. Why is this even here? We get the counts, we find out it's no longer warranted, and we start those discussions with the town, and they just know the residents are gonna flip or something along those lines. It's never fun, I guess, to be recommending that, but to your point, we also don't want to maintain signals that aren't warranted. So what we tell towns is like, you know what, we'll upgrade it, we'll spend the money to upgrade it, but now it's gonna be the towns that want to maintain if it's not warranted anymore. So we are playing our own games, I guess, towards the same situation. I just figured I'd share that, we have our issues with it as well.
And
Any-
there's a couple in the
Go-
chat.
Thank
So
you.
the
Go ahead.
A question of whether quick build installation include a study about whether the installation met its intended goals.
I haven't read that directive lately, but I do know some of the ones we've been involved with. Thinking of one in Canton, actually, on Maple Avenue, that put in speed reduction markings, and that, we were trying to get like a before after to kind of figure out, did the speed reduction markings actually have an impact on the speeds? So there is an intention that I think when you have a situation like that, we do want to have some sort of before after data to determine whether it should go to a permanent installation later on. That's really because, especially if we're iffy about something, things that are more like for the quick build that I showed that has the delineators and such, like, I don't know if there really is a way to do a before after study. I guess you could look, there were crash data beforehand for pedestrians and motorists. I don't know if you can prove it was a visibility issue, so that one to me is just more logistical. I don't know what the before after would really be trying to study, but the speed reduction markings are maybe something a little bit more less physical of a feature, I guess, that likely would. I think it all depends on what it is, but in some instances, yes, we would definitely want before and after data to determine if it ever should become a permanent installation.
And the other question in the chat was, has the asphalt art been taken away from quick build items?
Asphalt art. Well, I do know that, the MUTCD only allows certain things. If we're talking about like crosswalks painted in different colors and things like that. The MUTCD talks about the certain aesthetic features, they want it to be earth tones. They want it to be like the brick, or they want it to be like those muted grays or tans for the decorative crosswalks. And we're not looking for artistic type things that people will want to be in the crosswalk longer and take selfies and things like that's what we don't want. And yeah, it's
Make it too nice.
So we'll refer to the MUTCD about what's allowed I don't know if I would call it hard though, the things that are allowed for crosswalks. I'm reading into that question a little bit based on. Yes, so we do allow those for municipalities to install, but we're talking about some other type of artwork, like our school colors are blue and red or something, we wanna do that, we wouldn't allow that in state highways.
And just to be specific, like that's in the crosswalk, if you're doing like a curve out or a bulb out or something, there's usually no problems with that, you know.
Like in the sidewalk.
In the sidewalk
Yeah,
portion,
I don't know if
just to, again.
I wasn't sure, yeah, with the, I'm always thinking of like the crosswalks and things.
Those are the only questions in the chat.
Thank you, Kara. Is there any other questions? Let's start in the room there. Is there any other questions of anybody who's there in person? Go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, so as LTA, the police chief and I had recommended a change to a signal. State road, town approach, and it was no right turn on red. And it was approved, but I don't think it's been quite done yet.
Okay.
So there's that, like, there's maybe a little bit of a lag between, yeah, you approved it, but
not
actually
approved
having to
yet.
sign on is a different matter. But my bigger question on that is, who's updating the signal plan when changes are made on signals?
For a state signal, that would be us.
Okay.
For state pursued changes. If a town were to do an encroachment permit or a third party, like a private entity, and they were to impact a signal, we would require during the design review of revised signal plan at that time. And then as far
Well, I'm talking about the ones
like for
where,
the right here.
as LTA.
Yep.
We either recommend timing changes, phasing changes, sign changes, no
Yep.
right turn on red, and those things are approved for change.
Yep.
So then you'll make the change to the
It's
signal.
a state signal, then yes, we would make that change.
Okay.
Which, if you don't mind me asking, I can follow up on that no turn on red, but.
Oh, that's
what town
silver
it is?
and oak.
Oak. Thanks. Sometimes we issue the service memo and maintenance just, could be that, but.
It's been a little while, I didn't see it at first. Okay, memo first and then.
Outside.
The other piece of that is just, we're on a town road and let's say we're doing a sidewalk project with CDBG. Okay. And, we're staying in the town right away. And there's a signal for the state ramp that comes down. And now we've changed the ramp structures underneath and we put a crosswalk in there. So theoretically, a new signal plan is required off of that. And then on the reverse side, when a project came through and signal improvements were gonna be made at state signals, when the field conditions were found to be different than the signal plan, then the different unit of DOT said, oh, well, we're not gonna touch that signal. We're not gonna improve the timing because nobody updated the signal plan.
So the first one, you're referring to a town project on a town roadway,
Yep.
gets to a state signal.
And we came through in a town right of way.
Yeah.
And we did a sidewalk project and we didn't use any DOT money, it was federal money.
Okay.
And we put a crosswalk across in our own right of way, but it's across a ramp.
Okay, and there already was a ramp on the other leg, I assume, or something like that, where it was going to.
Yeah,
And no,
we improved them, we made them ADA compliant.
there's no signal impact though, right?
Didn't change the signal, didn't touch the signal.
You know, I.
But we worked in the land
Yeah.
that is covered by the signal plan. So then when a state project to revise the timing
Yeah.
came through. And they looked at, and this wasn't the only instance of it happening, but they looked at the plan and they looked at the ground and they said, oh, it's different. We're not gonna do any improvements on timing here because the plan is different than the ground. And the existing conditions.
I'm not familiar with it.
So having the problem I have with it is, first is finding the current signal plan, that's always been difficult. Second is getting them updated, which is not something that most towns can do without hiring a consultant because they're not CAT. We
Yeah,
have CAT.
we use MicroStation.
Yeah, you're using MicroStation and we don't really have the capabilities. And then third is you know, we don't feel a need to go and change the signal plan when we're working in our own right of way.
Got it.
But it is a signal state zoning and maintaining, and now it's had a consequence on the reverse end of not improving, say, the pedestrian cross timings.
Yep. Yeah, so I mean, there already were pedestrian signals for that approach and everything's kind of the same, like. I'm not so sure I believe that a signal plan revision was absolutely necessary there. I have had towns contact me before when, you know, there's a situation with a driveway or just a ramp and no impact to the signal. And they're like, hey, this is a real pain in the ass for us to have to do that. Could you help us here? And I have made exceptions in those situations. So that sounds like it could have fallen into that. It's pretty easy work for us. We probably could do that revision ourselves in like 15 minutes, you know, to put in a ramp or whatever.
Love hearing that.
Yeah, so I mean, it depends. Everything's, you know, and.
You'll be getting all our work now.
Yeah, well, that's a minor revision, so I will maybe pick and choose as I
I
see
mean,
fit.
the scale on that signal plan for showing site features is pretty small.
But yeah,
It's not-
correct. And then we still use 40 scale and
Yeah.
then you know, to say that our signal plans are perfect is definitely not true because. You know, I've definitely seen in the field where I come across, oh, there's a span hole here. I'm like, oh, that's actually 10 feet over that way or whatever, like. You know, so I don't know who exactly made the call not to make
It
that
was,
time.
but it was, like you said, you're not doing projects. This was a project that came through the whole series of projects. Improvements at 3 and 4-way stops that are municipal roads, state funded. RFBs on municipal roads, rumble strips on municipal roads. All these different safety approaches that came on, not just on the state system, but on the town roads.
Yeah.
And one of them was pedestrian timing on traffic signals when it was looked at. And my issue is with the traffic signal plans for the. Trying to get them updated, keep them updated and have the right version. Oh, and you can't touch one. You can't go and change the timing on, let's say it's a municipal road.
Yep.
Without getting 8 levels of permission, right? So if we know that we need to change the timing. We have to study, we have to produce the study, we have to host the approval to get the study, and then we have to record the final map or the final revised drawing. It's actually a whole bunch of effort when you can go into the cabinet and just change it.
Yep.
So it's ridiculous, it's actually ridiculously high amount of effort. When you could just go change something, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we go through that, a very similar effort on our own, like, you know, we have keys to go into our cabinets, but we don't normally change anything, 'cause we have to take out a maintenance 88 every time.
We're supposed to do min-max, right? So
Yeah,
we have
right,
min-max, we can
range,
work in, and that's it, but if we wanna do anything else. Then it becomes a big project for us, a big project. Now, I don't even have that, I only have 10, 12, but we do have some things that pop up.
Yeah, so municipal signals on municipal roadways, but I mean, OST is really the keeper of the issue you have, just what it sounds like, so if you do have suggestions, you know, I would reach out to them. I think Anna Mermelstein is currently the executive director. I don't know if she'd be willing to hear a case for something different, but I'll leave that up to you to pursue. We do municipal signals on state highways, we do the reviews, but it's still, we have to write a TIR, traffic investigation report for revisions on those afterwards. And just to clarify, like, you know, where I helped out with some revisions before where it was difficult for municipalities. That's for when the state owns and maintains the signal too, like, 'cause we're the keepers of the signal plans then. So if you ever have issue getting a signal plan, please let me know, we can help you with that for sure. And, you know, I try to be flexible when I can, to the most part, so feel free to call if you ever want to talk about a certain issue you're having. I know I didn't quite address your situation in general, but I'm trying to,
No, it's,
you know, open the door.
I feel like, the only part of that I feel is harmful is that there was a state-funded effort to make something safer. But there was a decision based on existing conditions that, no, we aren't gonna make anything safer, because it would require us to change the signal plan, and
But they're gonna have to change the signal plan anyways for the timing update, that's what's kind of weird about it, so I'm upset to hear that they didn't quite. Play ball more, because they should have, in my opinion, but I don't want to get too into details.
yeah, it was and they were doing a lot of signals. There was a long list of signals, and a whole bunch of them were changed, but then there was this list that was like set aside, like, oh, by the way, we found changes here, and here, we're not doing any of the time changes.
Getting kind of late, so I don't know. if
I was
there's
gonna
one
say.
last question.
Maybe one last question. Is there another one in the room or somebody who has their hand up online? No? All right. Well, I do appreciate the presentation, and you have given us your contact information for better or for worse. But do appreciate it very much. So I'm sure you'll be getting some contacts. I know, and I appreciate the follow-up with Bolton as well. Is there any other business to come before the Transportation Committee today? And if not, our next meeting, I believe, is Monday, July 20th, which is a virtual only meeting.
Correct.
All right. In that case, all those in favor of adjourning the meeting? Can I have a consensus?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody
Aye.
opposed? All right. Well, have a wonderful month of summer till we see you again.
Great. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Unless there are any questions, we'll adjourn. Really?